Now, to understand a little bit about how the world of work is changing and how management is changing, we first have to get a little bit of background around management. Now, management was created, if we were to look back around 100 years ago, the whole point of management was created to make sure that controls are enforced, that protocols are followed, that everybody shows up on time, works 9 to 5, wears their uniform, doesn't ask any questions, doesn't cause any problems, right? That was why management was created. There was no emphasis or focus on engagement, inspiration, creativity, innovation, empowerment. None of these things mattered. Health and wellness, you gotta be kidding me, right? We just want you to show up, we're gonna pay you, you do your job, and you're done, right? That was why management was created. Now, to help illustrate that, I want to give you 2 examples of people that are considered the fathers of modern management. And you'll see when I show you some of their ideas, you can see how a lot of our organizations today are built on top of these ideas. The first one is Frederick Winslow Taylor. Now, keep in mind that he passed away almost 100 years ago. And he was quoted as saying that basically the role of management is to enforce controls and standardization and protocols, and that the only people good enough to do this are managers. Right? A lot of our organizations are built on this philosophy. Controls, standardization, protocols, all about managers. The second person that I want to introduce you to is Henry Fayol. He passed away almost 100 years ago. And according to him, the role of management was to forecast, to plan, to organize, to control, right? To make sure that everything goes the way that the manager says it goes. Now, it's very easy to look at something like this and say, yeah, that's exactly how a lot of organizations in the world are. And that's very true. And what I'm going to talk to you in a few minutes is why things are changing now, right? Why is it that over the last 100 years, this was the way that management and leadership was thought about, and why today and going forward, why are things different? Why are things changing?
Did you know that 96% of the people who watch videos on this channel are not subscribed? That's pretty crazy, right? Make sure that you hit subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notified when more videos just like this one are released.
To help illustrate another story, I want to share something with you about a former submarine captain named David Marquet. Now, David Marquet in the 90s was given command of a nuclear-powered submarine. First of all, how cool is that? A nuclear-powered submarine. And he was told that he's going to take control of the USS Olympia. Now, in the United States Navy, the USS Olympia was the crown jewel of the naval fleet. They had the highest engagement, they had a top-notch ship, they consistently outperformed others on training maneuvers, and so David was very, very excited to take command of the USS Olympia. He's like, oh man, this is my chance. It's the #1 ship in the Navy. I can't wait to take control of this thing. And so he spends time learning everything he can about the submarine, about the people that are going to be aboard the submarine. He knows everything in and out. A couple of weeks before he's supposed to take command, he gets a phone call from his boss. And he says, actually, slight change of plans. You're now going to be taking control of the USS Santa Fe. Turns out the captain of the USS Santa Fe had quit, and they needed a new captain. So David was assigned to be the captain of the USS Santa Fe. Now, the USS Santa Fe was the exact opposite ship of the USS Olympia. Engagement levels were horrible. Employee turnover would make your head spin. They consistently were ranked last place on all training maneuvers. So David was not too thrilled to take command of this nuclear-powered submarine, but he just completed a year of leadership training, and he was taught, if I give good orders, I'm going to have a great ship. It's all about the person at the top. I just need to dictate and delegate, and if I do that well, this is going to be an awesome submarine. So one day, he takes out the crew of the USS Santa Fe to do their training maneuvers. And he wants to simulate a nuclear meltdown. So he shuts off the reactors, and he starts giving orders. And he says, ahead 2/3. And in the Navy, when you say ahead 2/3, it means power the submarine at 2/3 its maximum capacity. So he yells out the order, the navigator then repeats the order, and the helmsman is the one that actually executes the order. So David yells out, ahead 2/3. The navigator yells out, ahead 2/3. And nothing's going on. And David looks around, he looks at the helmsman, who's like visibly uncomfortable in his seat. And David walks over to him and he says, what's going on? Didn't you hear the order that I gave? And the helmsman says, yes, sir, I did. And David says, well, then why aren't you executing it? And the helmsman looks at him and says, because, sir, there's no aheads 2/3 on this ship. And David gets a little confused. He goes over to the navigator and he's like, did you know there was no aheads 2/3 on this ship? And the navigator says, yes, sir, I did. And he says, then why the hell did you repeat the order that I gave, knowing full well that there was no ahead 2/3 on this ship? And some of you might guess what his response was. Because you told me so, right? Because you told me so. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of our organizations are built and structured, right? You take orders, you give orders, that's it. But as I mentioned, we're starting to see a little bit of a change happen today. Now, to give you some context around how outdated a lot of our philosophies and ideas on management actually are, I want to show you 3 words. And these are words that I was researching when I was writing the book on the future of work. And I thought it would be interesting to look up, what does it mean to be a manager, an employee, and what does the word work actually mean? And what are some synonyms for these words? So, the first word is manager. What you're going to see in blue, those are synonyms for the word manager in the dictionary. I can't make this up. Actual synonyms. Someone who controls all or part of a company, slave driver, boss, or zookeeper. Now, to give you an idea of what the stereotypical manager is, it's basically
Here? Yeah, you
This
apparently
guy.
didn't put one of the new cover sheets on your TPS reports.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I forgot.
Yeah. You see, we're putting the cover sheets on all TPS reports now before they go out. Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah. Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just forgot. But it's not shipping out till tomorrow, so there's no problem.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great. And I'll go ahead and make sure you get another copy of that memo. Okay?
Yeah, no,
Bye-bye,
I have
Peter.
the memo. I've got it. It's right.
Hello, Phil. What's happening?
So that's a stereotypical manager within all of our organizations, right? Has everybody seen Office Space? Has anybody not seen Office Space? Oh my goodness. Okay, not many. Homework assignment, go out and watch Office Space. So that's a synonym for manager. What about employee? Again, actual dictionary synonyms: cog, servant, slave. I wish I could make this up because this would be like great presentation, but this is actually, unfortunately, what we think of employees within our organizations. Basically, this is an employee.
But I said I don't care if they lay me off either, because I told Bill that if they move my desk one more time, then I'm quitting. I'm going to quit. And I told Dom too, because they've moved my desk 4 times already this year, and I used to be over by the window and I could see the squirrels, and they were married, but then they switched from the swing line to the Boston stapler. But I kept my swing line stapler because it didn't bind up as much, and I kept the staples for the swing line stapler.
Okay, man.
So that's basically the stereotypical version of an employee within our organizations. And now my favorite one, unfortunately I don't have a good video clip for this one, but the synonyms are amazing. Daily grind, drudgery, and struggle. These are synonyms for the word work. Work is daily grind, drudgery, and struggle. So what happens if we put these 3 things together? Basically, we're all cogs working for a slave driver as we go about our daily drudgery or struggle. You can substitute that one in there if you want. Either way, it appears that work really sucks, right? And it's funny because we have movies like Office Space that are out there, but people watch that and then they say, yeah, that's true. That's the sad part about this is actually how a lot of organizations in the world are run. And I interview a lot of these organizations. I interview managers and executives and employees, and I see this in all sorts of organizations.